and then we'll start the presentation. So let me first just say other people will join us. I know some of our members are going to join us, but one of the things is if Bill Millhauser is one of our members, and I'd like to ask him to sort of monitor the chat, put in links to stuff that we're doing. This is all part of Democracy Day that we're doing on Tuesday, and we're really excited to have all of you here. Let me just start with a presentation that gives you sort of a brief overview of money in politics and what we're dealing with Virginia and nationally. And so let's just one of our priority issues for Tuesday, which is our Democracy Day, which is undertaken with a bunch of co-sponsors, whether it's Upvote, Fair Vote, they work on ranked choice voting, Common Cause, National Transparency Project. There's a whole host of groups that are sponsoring this because everybody is saying, yeah, we need to pay attention to good governance issues, and specifically on campaign finance. Last night we had an excellent presentation by one of our colleagues, Heidi Drasik, on how the Virginia General Assembly works. And this is in anticipation of Democracy Day and understanding, in this year, it's an odd year, so we only have a 45-day session. We have a 30-day session with a 15-day special session. So she was talking about crossover, when we have bills in our House of Delegates and our Senate, and how they cross over, and then how they actually go to the governor for signing for bills. So let's just focus on money in politics and campaign finance. And we have a long history of benign neglect towards campaign finance in Virginia. Let's just see what we can do in anticipation of Democracy Day. So just what we're going to do in the next 45 minutes. I mean, I want to leave a lot of openings for questions and comments from Bill and other people. We're going to look at some of campaign finance, the bills and their status in our General Assembly, some other good governance bills that we're championing, the process in our General Assembly, which can be very confusing in terms of the committees, where our campaign finance bills heard, the process and the schedule, some of the resources for next week in terms of democracy, easy action to take. And finally, we really want to hear from you in terms of your questions and comments. So just the bottom of the problem, Virginia rates 46 on the Swamp Index. Seriously, when you look at this, this is done by the Coalition for Integrity. It's based on good governance, transparency, and accountability to voters. When you look at that, Virginia is only followed by Utah, Michigan, Arizona, Idaho, and Wyoming. So we try to talk to our legislators about that. And we've realized over the time, our group has been operational for about 5 years. And it's like they say, well, our constituents don't complain about this. So our goal over the last 5 years has been to increase the visibility of the importance to good governance. Just in my background, I worked for the UN for 20 years in good governance as an economist overseas. Everything is good governance. Every economic development, business development, food security, poverty reduction, everything depends on good governance. And then when I came back and I looked in Virginia, and I was going, oh my goodness, this is not the country that I left, when I went overseas. So I think there's a challenge for us nationally, within our context nationally. Why are we an outlier in terms of money in politics? And seriously, comes from something that Bill had put together for a big poster. It's like we have no dollar limits on a type of campaign contributions. We are one of 5 states that has no limits. They include Alabama, Nebraska, Utah, and Oregon, and there's another state that will come to me. But seriously, we are at the bottom of the pile. No limits on contributions from corporations or special interests, including public utilities. like I may mention Dominion, which gives a lot of money to legislators as a state regulated corporation. And then legislators take a lot of money, even though they're supposed to be legislating, for our energy interests. And I would just like to say that we are one of unique in the nation in terms of no restrictions on politicians' personal use of campaign finance, meaning that because we have no restrictions, that governors, that legislators can just take money from, take as much money as they want from any donor that they want, and they can turn it around and spend it on a mortgage, a child's education, a vacation in the Bahamas. This is like, we are seriously unique. And then there is also limited oversight by the Department of Elections in terms of campaign finance. So we are seriously one of, and I'm trying to go to the next slide. And when you look at this, it comes out in terms of the cost of our elections nationally. Of course, after Citizens United, you can look at it and saying, oh my God, the elections have gone up to like $16 billion a year, $3 billion of which is unregulated, or not unregulated, but independent spending, including dark money, which goes into obscure attack ads, which don't go into the campaign, the actual campaigns of legislators, but they're sort of out there affecting our elections. So when you look at that, and then you look at Virginia, you can just see that our cost of our elections have escalated exponentially. It's not because of dark money. This is just because we have no limitations on campaign finance. And just to give you an example, here is the House, the Senate, and the governor's race. And the governor's race was like $170 million, which was up 4 years ago from $66 million. Well, there was an issue that Governor Youngkin was allowed to self-finance, which he gave himself $30 million because of Citizens United, that a lot, or Buckley versus Leo, which goes 40 years ago, but that he is allowed to self-finance. So you look at this escalating issue of campaign finance, and it's really egregious. And just to give a personal comment, I supported a candidate who was running a first-time candidate, and he signed our money out of politics pledge. I gave him $35. And the next week, another group, Clean Virginia, gave him $500,000. So this is an example where our General Assembly can actually take action to address this issue. And just because of this, Virginia voters have lost their voice. This is some data that I took from Open Secrets, and it was when you looked at the cost of the 2021 Virginia gubernatorial race, it exceeded California and Texas, which are much bigger in terms of population. And what was more egregious, that large donations above $10,000 accounted for 3/4 of Virginia contributions. You, me, Bill, Jerry, Hope, I don't know how much you give, but most people don't give more than $500. And to a candidate, 83% of donors contributed $500 or less to their candidates, but it accounted to less than 7 to 8% of contributions. And when you looked at, I did this analysis using Open Secrets. When you looked at, and of course I can't see this because you guys are, but anyway, over 1,000 donors accounted for 70% of our money going to our elections. So seriously, we are a statistical outlier in campaign finance. So when you look at possibilities, last year we were not excited, but we saw a glimmer of hope. And because last year's, we had the most expensive elections in Virginia history. There was dark money coming into our elections through obscure attack ads, especially in the primary area where all these these anonymous, they're undisclosed internet ads attacking candidates. There was a lot of coverage by the press on this issue that there's a lot of need for campaign finance. And finally, it was like, oh yes, 24 bills introduced, the 80 in 2022, 8 by Republicans. So this is a bipartisan issue. And we did some polling in 2000, I guess it's a year and a half ago, but by the Wasson Center of Christopher at Newport University, and 88% of Virginians want full disclosure of contributions, and almost 4 out of 5 Virginians want to get big money out of politics. And this is irrespective of parties. So this is based, the public perception is this is an issue that we need to address. So the question for us is how to go ahead and make this happen. So this is, last year I mentioned we had 24 bills, and I didn't say, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but okay, we had 3 bills passed, there were sort of minor bills, one on oversight, one on a disclosure issue, and one on extending a study group on campaign finance. So those out of 24 bills, which included disclosure, would include limitations, personal use. So they didn't pass, but we're always optimists, right? So, but now we have now we're going to our General Assembly that started last Wednesday. We have 13 bills, and they're good bills. And a lot of them were passed, introduced last year. So there was a lot of socialization about these bills. So let's just go through some of these bills. Improved disclosure bills related to independent expenditures, including dark money. This is being introduced by Barbara Favola in the Senate, who represents part of Fairfax, and Dan Helmer, who also represents part of Fairfax. When you look at the General Assembly, whether good or bad, I'm never quite sure what the strategy is. If you have a Senate bill and a House bill, sometimes it has more possibility of passing. But in fact, this Barbara Favola introduced it last year. It passed through the Senate with bipartisan support, and then it died in our Republican, subcommittee. And Dan Helmer's bill died in the subcommittee. But since then, we referred her to the Campaign Legal Center. She improved the bill. There's a lot of looking at dark money. For those of you who aren't familiar, dark money is sort of a colloquial term. When you look at independent expenditures, when you look at Citizens United, they opened the door to unleashing money from corporations and everybody that could go into funding ads, issue ads against candidates. You have ads that issue ads versus they cannot give money directly to candidates. Well, they can in Virginia because we have no limits, but normally there's a distinction between money that goes into the candidates and money goes into these obscure ads that are issue ads that are advocating for one issue or another, but they are influencing our election. So we're really hopeful that this bill will pass. It's a good bill. It doesn't independent expenditures. We have an election coming up in Virginia with the whole General Assembly is going to be reelected. 100 delegates, 40 senators. So this is a good time to really, even in the General Assembly, we hope that this bill gets passed, but it's a good messaging bill. Do you support good governance or do you not? And in fact, we called this bill the Virginia Sunshine Bill. The other one, as I mentioned, restricting personal use of campaign donations. Are you kidding me? We're one of 2 states. Seriously, you can use my money that I give you as a candidate and you can go on a vacation to Jamaica. Anyway, there are 3 bills, Marcus Simon from Falls Church, Mike Cherry, who's a Republican, and Senator Voisko is going to introduce it on the Senate side. So we're very optimistic about this because it's the lowest hanging fruit in terms of campaign finance reform. Now the big issue, capping contributions. There are 2 bills, Senator Peterson, which I'll get to later, and then Delegate Van Valkenburg, who's like from the Enrico area around Richmond. Senator Peterson is up in Fairfax. And there's a really exciting bill, which I think is just great. Delegate Tim Anderson from Portsmouth down in the Tidewater, he's introducing a prohibiting foreign money in our elections, which I just think, seriously, this is a no-brainer. And it's a really good bill. It's, there are bills, the federal government, for your information, bans foreign money from going directly to candidates, but it can, because of Citizens United, it goes into this independent expenditures. So if Putin wants to give $1 million to a dark money group like the 501c4, they can issue attack ads on anyone. So anyway, I think that's a great bill. And finally, we have, and this is where American Promise comes in, because obviously we want to get rid of dark money and to allow Virginia to regulate election spending. We need a constitutional amendment. This has been in the make since Citizens United in 2010. And so we have Vivian Watts, who's from Fairfax area. She is introducing a resolution supporting an amendment to the US Constitution, allowing Congress and the states to regulate election spending. And if we can get this passed in the House of Delegates, at least in the House of Delegates, the Senate, for some obscure reason, doesn't consider these resolutions. If we can get this passed, Virginia would become the 22nd state to support this, meaning 145 million people support this. And just to let you know, and Bill knows this and John knows this, our colleagues in Wyoming, this is not the bastion of liberalism, but they introduced a resolution, a similar resolution, an amendment to the Constitution, and it just went through one of their committees 4-1. So hopefully their legislature, a Republican legislature, will actually make a statement to say, yeah, we want campaign finance, we want to get money out of politics, we want a constitutional amendment. So I think this is really exciting. I think this is a no-brainer. I think that a lot of Republicans are supporting this. We're trying to get Republicans to join on co-patroning this bill. So let me just go to the next slide. In addition to some of these campaign finance bills, our group is supporting other democracy, good governance bills. This includes ethics reform. And here is Irene Shin. She's from she's from
Fairfax and Loudoun.
Yeah, Fairfax and Loudoun. And actually she has, I mean, since the McDonald scandal in 2015, on the whole issue of ethics reform, we have terrible ethics, which is why we're 46 out of 50 states in terms of the swamp index. But she's introducing a bill expanding the authority of the Virginia Conflict of Interest and Ethics Advisory Council, which really needs to have a different name because it's way too long, to invest allegations of violation to existing state law. So this is a bill that also, we have actually, because we have an anti-corruption lawyer who was a retired special agent from the FBI, actually helped her draft this bill. So we're really excited. Because good governance, it's campaign finance, it's ethics, it's a lot of different issues, including ranked choice voting. And I just want to say that the Democracy Day is undertaken along with various co-sponsors, including Upvote, which used to be Virginia 2021, and Bill was very involved in that in terms of redistricting issues. They've reconfigured themselves and they're focusing on campaign finance, or not campaign finance, but on ranked choice voting and transparency. So there are 4 bills, and I was going to go through the 4 bills, but I don't know if it's worth going through the 4 bills. There are 2 bills. There is a Creed Deeds in the Senate, who's a senator, has it, that would authorize us to do it in presidential primaries. And Bill, help me, because this is not, I think it's Rob Bloxham has the campaign,
Yes.
and he has the the companion bill in the House. And then there's also a couple, Sally Hudson has one, and Glenn Davis has one that expands it on a local level. Before, there was a bill that allowed us, whether in Alexandria Falls Church, wherever, Richmond and stuff, to do ranked choice voting, but it didn't allow you to do it for city council. So this is sort of expands the local purview on doing ranked choice voting, which I think is really exciting. Anyway, let me just, they will be joining us and for campaign finance, our Democracy Day. Now I just want to get into sort of the process, the convoluted process. Heidi went over some of the entry, how the General Assembly works, which is to all of us is sometimes a mystery. But talking about campaign finance, let's just take a look at who in the General.
Hey, Nancy.
Yeah.
See, before you go on, I just wanted to say that I put a link to some more information on the key legislation that you summarized in the chat. So if people want more information.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, because we do
So
have on our
website, the Big Money Out website has a tremendous amount of useful information, and you can find a lot more there. And also you can, contact us after the meeting. Does anybody have any questions right now in terms of presentation so far? Okay.
Yeah, because I can't see if any chat things come up. So anyway, but on the Privileged Elections Committee, that is the entry point for campaign finance. The House has 3 obscure subcommittees, and it's like, what is it? It's not the dating game. It's like, what's behind curtain number, what is that called? Curtain number 1, curtain number 2. We didn't know which subcommittee was dealing with campaign finance. Anyway, I guess it is still subcommittee 2. There are 21 members, 10 Democrats. And as the House, because it's a bigger chamber, it has 100 legislators, obviously that's why they have the 3 subcommittees. On the Senate, which we only have 40 senators, has 15 members, 9 Democrats, which will come up in just in a second when I show the pictures of a testimony and results from a Tuesday test review of some of the campaign finance things. Here it is. Anyway, Bill knows this very well. We all signed up to follow this and to volunteer to do testimony, and specifically the Tuesday meeting in the Senate Privileges Election Committee reviewed 4 bills, 2 limitations bill. 1 limitations bill was on Chap Peterson's, when I meant he had a limitations bill on $20,000 per election cycle. And this is a bill that's been introduced numerous years, and yes, it died. It was seriously, it was 10 to 5. I felt like I was going to have an ulcer. It was because when you testify on these things, it's like, seriously, it's so opaque, because they say they're going to meet after the adjournment of the Senate. So it's 2:30, and I'm texting Bill at like 1:30 or 2 saying, you think they're going to start soon? Anyway, it's like a whole afternoon of anxiety, especially since they were hearing crazy, we have a Republican House and a Democratic Senate, but some of the election bills were sort of stressful. But anyway, so this bill died, and then there was another bill that I mentioned, one of the things that it was campaign finance limiting contributions to candidates from public utilities, which are public utilities means like Dominion, which is a state regulated monopoly, which is one of the largest donors to legislators. And that died. You can see it 12 to 3. And yesterday in Heidi's presentation, she was going through, and seriously, this threw me off a loop when I was listening to these hearings and stuff like that. It's like, how many ways of saying that you can kill a bill? You can lay it on the table, and here it's passed by indefinitely. and then the only thing that you can hope for is saying it's reported, which means it's actually goes out of committee to the Senate floor. And in fact, I didn't say this, I don't have that here, but actually there were 4 bills and 2 bills. One was on Barbara Favola's the disclosure bill, which on independent expenditures that was reported out of committee 9-6 on a totally partisan vote. You would think that legislators, in terms of revealing the source of dark monies, would be interested, and it doesn't. They were being attacked by the Republicans in last year's primary. Follow Virginia politics. It was the Republicans during a primary who were being attacked by obscure ads. It doesn't hurt them. This is a win-win for voters and for legislators. But the good news, it passed about 9-6, and there was another one, sort of minor, but it good. You have to have electronic filing for any disclosure issues, which just shows that maybe we're like in Virginia, we're like coming into the 20th century. But it did pass 15-0.
Hey, Nancy.
So,
Nancy,
Sure.
I just wanted to point out there's bipartisan opposition to these bills getting approved. And in this committee, the Democrats have a 9-6 ratio because the Democrats have the majority in the Senate. They get to have more people on the committee. So in this first bill up at the top, 803, 4 Democrats voted with Republicans. And here at the bottom, 6 Democrats joined 6 Republicans to kill the bill, which would have prevented contributions from Dominion and other public utilities. So this is a real uphill battle, and it's a bipartisan problem because, frankly, politicians from both parties seem to believe that they benefit from the current system.
And that's absolutely true. And that's one of our challenges of going ahead. And so that anyway, yeah, it was very disappointing. Granted that I have to say that the limitations bill wasn't the greatest bill. We had tried to work with the patron and addressing previous bill. You've done this 3 years, we said, you're not going to get this bill passed unless you do this and this and this, and he refused. And so anyway, but it is an example of how difficult it is to get through things from the center. But the good thing is there's growing awareness about the issue of money in politics. I think that, 4 years ago, people would say legislators, in fact, one legislator did say this in a League of Women Voters session, saying, nobody ever said anything about campaign finance. But now more and more the press and everything, and I think, we've been pretty vocal about this. So there's a lot of press coverage about this, which shows, and if you watched the movie Dark Money, the movie about Montana, and the how the Supreme Court lifted 100 years of legislation that allowed them to regulate election spending, which is a sad story, but it's a great documentary. But it shows the importance of local press in revealing some of these problems with things like this in terms of good governance. So at least the issue is, and for us, is at least we're making waves. And Karen Kennard is on here, and she's writing letters to the editor. Everything depends on building awareness and getting awareness by the press on these issues. So what are we doing in terms of what are we doing about the bills themselves? What do we want to say in Democracy Day? What will be available? I just wanted to say maybe, and this is the time that maybe I should go to our website, and in terms of looking at the bills and looking at the documentation that we have developed, we've developed these one-page briefs on every single bill. Here you can see the Virginia Sunshine Bill, the bill that reveals dark money. for those of you who are fanatics on money and politics, you know, it's like Arizona and Alaska had referendums on revealing dark money that passed overwhelming. Citizens, 90% of citizens in Virginia, they want total disclosure in terms of this. So, you know, the interesting thing is how, you know, presenting these and seeing who votes on, and then trying, since we have an election coming up, saying who votes against good governance and the Sunshine Bill, or in the case of Tim Anderson, the Republican, prohibiting contributions from foreign influence corporations. He's got a great bill, and it basically, the federal government has, you know, we have regulations federally that you are not allowed to take money from foreign entities. But since Citizens United, and you have all this money that is going through dark money sources, 501c3, super PACs and stuff like that, you don't know who Putin could give $1 million to people and you would never know. So what he's doing is he's saying, okay, anybody who gives money for independent expenditures or to a campaign has to show that they have less than 1% foreign influence in their company, which I think is amazing. So you guys, we really need to look at these and say, okay, send emails to your legislators and make sure this bill passed. Otherwise, it's a wonderful messaging bill to the for the next election. It's saying, you voted no on allowing foreign money to come into our elections. Anyway, I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to our website. We actually have a new website. I'm really not very good at making this transition, but I'm going to stop my screen and I'm going to go to, I'm going to go to our website. Can you guys see this?
Not yet.
Yeah.
Hey, let me just share screen. Okay, here's our new website. Anyway, we have this website on all the bills that we're supporting. It goes down here, you know, whether you're looking at increased disclosure, you're restricting personal use, limitations on contributions, and the resolution on the U.S. constitutional amendment. And for each of them, we have a brief that we've developed, saying, I'm just going to click here and you guys tell me if you see, if it moves to something else. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, so here is Vivian Watts, and this is the one that Bill Cortese and John McCrae are very interested. Of course, we're interested in it too, in having a resolution supporting a constitutional amendment. So we've developed these briefs on most of the bills, so that those people going to Democracy Day will give you all these, it will give you these things when you go to meet your legislator. We're going to set up, Bill and I are setting, we already scheduled a bunch of meetings, and we'll let you know which meetings you'll go to. But obviously we want legislators to know about bills and we want them to support them. So what we did was we developed key provisions of the bill and why Virginia needs this bill. Because in fact, this is as much for the legislators as it is for you. Because seriously, and Bill can attest to this, I'm sure Karen can attest to this, is that these guys are flooded with all these bills and they don't have talking points. So I think one of the things on Democracy Day is making people aware that this bill, legislators, this bill is important. It doesn't affect them personally. They have nothing to lose by supporting this bill. And so what we're trying to do is, and right now, John McCrae and I are trying to say, we're trying to work to get Republicans to support this bill, this resolution. You know, what we want to do is try to start getting Republicans on first, so that Democrat, you know, if you get a lot of Democrats supporting a bill, then Republicans are going, I don't feel like this is my resolution or my bill. So John and I are trying to, and Bill, and during Democracy Day, every meeting with a Republican, we're going to say, hey, we've got this great bill. I'm sure you support, saying that we need to have Virginia control election spendings. This is related to federalism. This is related to our power to regulate our elections, and the language is tailored around sort of appealing to people who, we want, we want Virginians to control our elections. And so anyway, we have this, we'll have it available. We have this on the website, and we have this for every single bill. There was other thing, and it was interesting. We're trying to get, as I said, if Virginia can pass this, it would pass through the House of Delegates, but we can't get it through the Senate because they don't consider these type of resolutions. But there's John and I are going back, and maybe we can get some senators to support it too. Anyway, I just think that, this is an example of the type of things that we have on our website. We have them for all these other bills. We also have, and this is going to be provided to everybody, and it's going to be every single package that legislators get, saying 2023 key finance and campaign finance and ethics bills. So this will be given to everyone as sort of a cheat sheet in terms of what bills do we prioritize, restricting personal use of campaign finance. And of course, Bill is going to yell at me because this bill dropped, but I don't have the actual number. Strengthening disclosure, there were 3 of them. There's still these 2, the top 2 passed. And actually, it's interesting in terms of Democracy Day. This one by Senator Suderline, who's a Republican, disclosure of pre-election contributions will be presented during actually next Tuesday during the subcommittee or during the Privileged Election Committee. So I'm going to ask Jacob, and I know that Jacob is on this call, although I don't see him, but he did
Nancy, you're not sharing your screen.
I'm not sharing my screen.
You need to share your screen.
Oh, that's interesting.
We hear you, but we can't see your page.
Okay. Anyway, it's here. Sorry about that. I thought, because I clicked on it, I'm never quite sure what is. But anyway, I hope that Jacob is here, because we're going to send him to the Privileges and Elections Committee to defend a couple of these bills, including disclosure of pre-election contributions. This one died. This one will be heard in the House next week, interestingly enough, and this is unfortunate. They have the subcommittee behind door number 2. They have it on Wednesday morning at 7 o'clock. So Bill and I are always complaining. It's like, you can still wear your pajamas, but maybe you need to comb your hair. It's like, anyway, we're gonna testify on that. The Van Valkenburg, the limits bill, which is a good bill. And this bill died. Prohibition of foreign contributions we talked about. And this is another Suderline bill that I'm hoping that Jacob, maybe some of his colleagues, will help him with the testimony, restrict fundraising during special session. And since Jacob is here, Jacob is our UVA, University of Virginia. He's our intern on social media, and he did a brilliant job in the Senate P&E committee last week on speaking towards the 2 bills, one bill that died and one bill that didn't. But Jacob, thank you very much. It was really great to have a 4th-year political science student who wants to go into public policy, making such an impassioned plea for good governance. And then finally, this integrity bill, the Irene Shen, and this one. And the interesting thing that John McCrae and I are looking for on this one, it's usually held, it's looked in the subcommittee. It usually goes in the rules committee, which is not the P&E committee, but we're waiting for it to figure out where it's going to be heard, because it's easier to advocate in the P&E committee. Anyway, these are all examples of stuff that we are on our website. We'll share with you, and we'll hand out to you when you go to your meetings, et cetera, et cetera. And let me just go back and finally say, on a final note, which I can't move my screen down. Oh, here it is. If you're not going to Democracy Day, and Bill, can you put this in the link? What we're doing is we're trying to put pressure on on these P&E committee, the Privilege and Election Committee, to take action, and make people, they always say, well, my constituents don't care about this stuff. And Karen is writing letters to the editor. We got some people from Southwest Virginia, writing letters to them so that their legislators know people care about. But look at this, it's amazing. We set up this action alert saying we need to get these bills passed, and we got, I don't know, we probably got more. We got over 3,000 letters sent to, I sent to everybody in the P&E committee in the House and the Senate, and we got the Republican caucus and the Democratic caucus, because this bill says the senior Democrats don't support campaign finance. So, and also the governor. So we gotten 3,237 letters sent, and Bill, if you can put that link to that in the okay. And then also we have written testimony on bills, and I just wanted to take you quickly to this is sort of, I know we're at 7:50, but I just wanted to, of course, it's like, okay. Here is, I just wanted to introduce you. Can you guys see this? This is the legislative information system. Can you see this? Bill, is it up? Yeah. Okay, so if you want to know what any committee is doing, here they have bills and resolutions, the members, so you can go to your legislator and find out what bills they're introducing, standing committees, and some of these other things that are sort of weird. But anyway, it's what I typically could do is for campaign finance reform is I go to the standing committee, and I hope that it switched. Bill, did it switch? So I'm going to the Privileges and Elections Committee, say, for example, in the Senate. And here you can see bills that were referred, and you can go, okay, well, if you know the bill that was the number of the bill, which is always a pain in the butt, but I think it was Chap Peterson's was 802. So here it is, 803. Yeah, so here it is. It shows you, and this is an example of how you can figure out what's happening to bills. It's like, okay, we heard it on Tuesday in a very excruciating, long, horrible meeting, and it died 10-5. So that's a way that you can find out what's happening. And I'm just going to go back to the House side, because at the end of the day, the House side is almost important, because we have some good Senate bills that we'll go through, at least 2, but once they go over to the House, then it goes into subcommittee, and then it's a horrible, horrible, terrible problem. And so here it is, we have subcommittee 2, which I said is behind the curtain, which it says you would never know that this is campaign finance, but the other one is elections, and I think the other one is like constitutional amendments or something.
So
But yeah.
Is there anything in subcommittee 2? Do they click on subcommittee 2 and see?
See, that's the thing, in the Senate side, they've referred all these things, and the House side, they even canceled their meeting last week, which was probably good because I had time to have an extra coffee. But yeah, it's but that means next week, we will all be down there for Democracy Day on Tuesday. I'll probably stay because they have this committee meeting at 7 o'clock in the morning, where when you look at the general subcommittee, here are all the bills that are referred, so they have all these bills that are referred, and they're not referred to subcommittee. So these are all limitations, disclosure, the foreign bill. This incidentally, and this is what we're trying to figure out, it doesn't have the constitutional amendment, Vivian Watts, because ultimately we hope that it's referred to this committee, but it hasn't been referred to the committee as of yet. So when you look at, this is a very helpful, it's sort of archaic and it takes a little bit of time to work through, but say, give me, Camila, who's your delegate? You know?
Who did you say?
I said Camila, I was just asking who her delegate was.
I would have to look that up real quick.
Where do you live?
In Richmond,
In Richmond.
it's the 4th district.
Bill, can you go into Find My Legislator and see who? Well, maybe Jerry. Jerry, do you know who your delegate or senator is? You're
I'll
muted.
go. I got mine.
Well, you can use mine. You put in K. Corey.
There we go. Yeah, in Virginia, in my district is Tim Anderson and Senator Spruill.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's Senator Spruill. Oh, thank you, Jerry. I'm so glad you joined us because Senator Spruill is not a supporter of campaign funding.
And nor of ranked choice voting. So we're
Oh, really? I didn't
Yeah.
know that, because in fact, Jerry, next week, we heard from Upvote that the Deeds is going to present his bill for ranked choice voting in the P&E committee. I
Yeah.
was very, I was
we're
really.
working on him to make him smart. And so we'll see how it
Jerry,
goes.
yeah, anyway, I suppose I have your email because I really want to, we're really sort of trying to influence Spruill and we've never, the Tidewater is such a difficult area. And now he and Lucas have they're running against in a primary and we're trying to, and Lucas, as you know, is not a supporter of campaign finance either, so.
It's
Yeah, so, you look at here, so he has, Spruill is the chair of the P&E committee. It used to be my Senator Edmund Evans from Alexandria. But if you go here and Spruill, you can see which committees he's on and you can see which bills.
he leads.
What?
I don't know the names of them, but he leads the one that's going to be responsible for getting ranked choice voting.
Well, it's going through his committee. Yeah, it's interesting because.
His committee, yeah.
Yeah, because and Deeds used to be the chair and then it went to Adam Eben and then it went to Spruill and we were all going, oh, anyway. So we would love to have a conversation with you and, in terms of how to influence. And it's interesting because Tim Anderson, he loves campaign finance, but he has sort of some weird other like banning books and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're in a very interesting area. Anyway, I do recommend, Bill, if you can put the link into the LIS, it's sort of not intuitive, but it's a wonderful source of information. So anyway, just to go back, I know we're reaching the hour, but Bill, I hope you've put in the link to our taking action.
Yeah, it's on there.
You're not just, I don't know if they're going to hate us or love us. I'm sure, when you look at 3,237 letters sent, I checked and each of these legislators each got like 85 letters. And so they say they never get, they never get information. They never get people saying they care about campaign finance. I'm sure they're totally horrified. I can't imagine Spruill all of a sudden getting all these emails.
Well, I'm a novice to this, and I got into it with the Veterans for Political Innovation. So
the Veterans for Political Innovation.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
And which is part of, I guess, we have a lot of big brothers and sisters, which you're probably one of them, but upvote and a fair vote and all that.
We had a great call with them this week, actually. Really great group of people over there.
Oh, that's good. You know, I mean, we do have one of our members who is he's a veteran and he was in the Army. And so he's reaching out to veterans, especially those in Iraq and Afghanistan who are really interested in good governance issues. I mean, and so if Jerry, let's have a conversation offline on how to build up, especially in the Tidewater area, because it's such a it's such an influential area, and a lot of the legislators who don't support these campaign finance legislation. So let's just talk, and we can talk and have a discussion on how to influence them. Anyway, I just wanted to open it up. I seem to have lost, I just thank you for coming. And if you have any questions, Bill and I and Jacob and Karen, we're really excited that you guys are joining us in Richmond. We'll have a good time. I need to go back since on ranked choice voting. I don't know if I may have missed this, and as an ex-Peace Corps volunteer, I think this is really important. It's like, we are meeting, the ranked choice voting fair vote is actually having a meeting and I don't know if you can find this, Bill, but they're having a meeting at a brewery or something at 6 to 8. Jerry, are you going to be there?
No,
Ryan?
that's the day before, and I just can't take off to get up there the day before. At least that, I might end up showing up, but right now it's just a time management issue.
Anyway, it's just, I mean, it will be really fun. I think, all of us are good governance fan, whether it's campaign finance, whether it's ranked choice voting, ethics reform. And interestingly, I don't know, Jerry, Tim Anderson is introducing a constitutional resolution for term limits. It's sort of, and he is coming to our press conference, which will be for Democracy Day. We'll be sending out an email and more on the details. We're having a rally around the bell tower at 8 o'clock, a press conference at 8:30. Then we're sending off people to meetings and stuff like that. We're gonna have a group that goes to listen to the Senate and the House and be introduced by certain legislators. We're going to stop by our legislators who are introducing good governance bills. So I think it will be really fun. It's too bad, Jerry, you can't join us for a beer at the brewery.
And Nancy, I posted the information for the Fair Vote event on Monday, the 23rd.
Okay.
The chat. And I also, a lot of the things we talked about, I have links in here in the chat. Nancy, could you, yeah, there we go. We are also scheduling small groups of us to go see critical legislators on Tuesday morning. And I wanted to get a sense, are there people here in the room that would like to go as part of a lobbying team to talk to legislators, along with some very experienced people, so you wouldn't be, out there on your own?
Yeah, that's pretty much why I'm going.
Okay. All right. Well,
I think we'd definitely be interested in attending as well.
okay.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Well, we're going to, everyone who signed up for the event, we're going to suggest possible teams they could go out and be a participant in. And it doesn't, if you don't want to go with the group, that's fine. But we think it will have more impact on the legislators if a group of, say, 10 individuals come from all over the state saying this is an important issue. So we'll be sending out more information on that. And again, don't be intimidated if you haven't done this before. You'll be with some experienced people, and we'll have a lot of background information to help you with. So I hope we can see some of you in our efforts to talk to the legislators on Tuesday morning.
Yeah, and Jacob, just to let you know, it would be great if you were we have meetings with Sproul, we've sent out invitations and we do have a meeting with Sproul. I can't remember exactly what time. We haven't scheduled anything with Tim Anderson because he's a champion, but if you're in that group, let's go over into Tim's office and just say, hey, thanks, even though you want to ban books, it's like, okay, it's like you support campaign finance, so. And Jacob is going to be there too. So, and Jacob is bringing some students from UVA. We've appealed to, we sent out professors to, political science department at Commonwealth University, Richmond University. So hopefully, we've already gotten like 65 people who are going to be there. Anyway, you guys, Brian, are you going?
Yep, I'll be there.
Great. And I
And
think
Bill, Bill, you answered my question that I was about to ask. I wanted to know if in general, where we have access to the legislators to talk to, or if you have to schedule meetings, or if they're not available.
All of the above. Nancy and I have spent a lot of time calling offices and trying to set up meetings, and some of which have been very successful, and we may actually be able to talk to the delegate or senator. A lot of times at this, it's such a busy season, you get a lot of times you're talking to a legislative assistant, which might be very good because they're tracking legislation. So we have some meetings set up. We're going to finish up some other ones, and then we'll have some other opportunities where we'll have groups go to just drop off, drop in and say hello to legislators. In some cases, like Tim Anderson, just saying thank you for being a supporter and submitting this bill. In other cases, we might be stopping at legislators that need a little bit more push and just remind the legislative assistant or, the highest person we can talk to, what our concerns are. So,
Great. Well,
I mean,
sign me up.
our key thing is we're trying to influence important people on these House and Senate committees. And in the House, since the committee is stacked in the Republicans' favor, we really need to reach out to Republicans to try and do a little education and changing positions, and sometimes even the Democrats, because in the past, the Democrats may not be fully aware of our bills and frankly, be able to support them effectively. So it's touching these key people on the subcommittees in the House and the full committee in the Senate. And again, you want to get complementary bills passed in both houses and then go to crossover where any differences are worked out. Sometimes you can get a bill passed in one chamber and bring it to the other chamber and they may consider it. They may not. We tried that last year and we didn't get very far with the personal use bill, but so.
Yeah, and one of the things I noticed that Alan Laplice has joined us, although you were saying you were John McCrae. Are you Alan Laplice or are you John?
Hey, I am Alan LaPolice.
Yeah, exactly. And Alan, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Alan LaPolice. I am from Kansas, but I currently live out on the West Coast, and I am the National Coalitions Director for American Promise.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is Alan actually ran as a Republican in Kansas. And also Bill. I mean, a lot of us are very, not to be revealing, but more, I'm from Northern Virginia, so I have my own political agenda. But we are focused on Republicans. That's, as Bill said, when we go down there, we're prioritizing, especially in the House side, Republicans. And we've never really got the head of it's Todd Gilbert is the head of the Speaker of the House. He's a Republican. We've always tried to get hold of him because at the end of the day, last year, we had 24 bills, 13 of them died in the subcommittee in the House. And it's clear that the caucus, both the Republican and Democratic caucus, are very important to influence. And I can tell you, and John and Bill can tell you, that the current Democratic caucus doesn't support campaign finance. So, You know, I mean, we have, and you probably know, I mean, Jerry, you know this. I mean, we've got Don Scott. We were actually trying to get a meeting with him because he's not a supporter of campaign finance. So,
Well, that's the Veterans for Political Innovations grassroots, being veterans, virtually 49% of veterans are independents. Now, sure, I favor a party over another, but we try and maintain that neutrality. What we're finding is that at the higher up the political hierarchy you go, the steeper the resistance sometimes gets to this stuff, because it is a source of power to not change.
yeah, and yeah, so anyway, it's so we're trying to target these people, and when we're organizing our meetings, we're going to have teams, because we've got almost 65, 70 people coming. We'll have teams of people, and then we'll have discussions on, you know, Jerry, you're in a team, let's go stop by Tim Anderson's just to thank him. So we're going to try to be very flexible, but on Monday, we're going and we're giving all of our information and our priority bills to every single, all 140 legislators, 100 in the House of Delegates and 40. And one of the priorities too is try to get Republicans saying, hey, we've got this resolution 242 to support a constitutional amendment. Here's the legislation. Would you be a co-sponsor? Because I don't think that's threatening to people. I mean, I think Tim Anderson certainly supports it. There's, you know, quite a few Republicans who want this. So what we need to do is, this is a start of a process, just to let you know, because, you know, it's every time I get through. Yeah, Jerry.
If I can, I might have to come up Monday night to that happy hour so somebody could show me where the bell tower is. I have no experience in Richmond whatsoever. So I will try and spend the night then and meet you all.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
At the happy hour. Yeah. And maybe you could get me, because I want to be sure to accompany, whether it's getting to Tim Anderson's or Senator Schools or wherever. I want to, you know, be part of that force that helps get the message across.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, it's just, and we'll let you know exactly. The bell tower is sort of, you have, I'm not very familiar with Richmond, but Bill, you are, but it's sort of up the hill from the
Yeah, it's in the far southwest corner of the big block that the Capitol is on. So it's
sort of up the hill.
Yeah, it's sort of Bank Street and 9th Street North.
But so, Bill, we're setting up these teams to go to various offices. We have to remember that Jerry is from, you know, he needs to go to the school, and then we'll go to Tim Anderson. Anyway, any other comments? We really appreciate you guys coming. We appreciate Karen for, you know, writing letters to the editor. It's Jerry, we're excited that you're coming from the Tidewater area.
Hey, Nancy.
Yeah.
I think I heard something about a breakfast on the 24th.
Well, we're gonna, and we'll, Heidi will send out something, because we'll have a breakfast and we'll have a lunch over in the SunTrust building. I don't know if you know, that's right across the street from the Pocahontas building. And so she'll give you the names of the rooms. So we're going to open it up. We'll have it there at 7 o'clock. We'll have everything there. And then at, you know, a little bit before 8, we'll go over to the bell tower, and we have all these protest signs and stuff like that. And I told Bill, I said, you know, I'm going to super glue myself to a door now. You know, he said, but you have to do it at the end of the day. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, you have to have somebody actually, you know, move your car so it's when you're arrested. Anyway, you know, who knows?
And so is there a full rundown, a full agenda for the mixer the night before, and then any meetings that are locked in? It seems like we have some, and then we're just, I wasn't sure if there was anything, and because we're happy to help and try to do any outreach and set up any meetings that we can too on our end through our network. So, you know, just wanted to see if there's anything that we can work off of.
Yeah, I mean, Bill, you want to, Heidi's going to send out something this weekend.
Bill, I think we have it pretty much in hand. What we're going to do is either Saturday or Sunday, every participant will get an itinerary for Monday. Okay, and it'll give you all the, place locations, times, etc. And again, there's going to be a free lunch at the Truist Building. And then at 11 to about 1 or 12:30, there'll be a free breakfast and then a free lunch. So don't forget to participate in that. And we'll have meetings throughout the morning. And what we're doing is dividing up the list of people who've signed up and just suggested that you might want to join one of 3 groups as the lobbying group. And of course, you can choose not to do that. We do want to avoid, our group going to one senator and then through the day, 6 or 7 other people coming independently and, sort of bothering the staff. So we want to try and coordinate our visits to all
Sure.
the legislators. So we're going to
Okay.
have that worked out pretty well. And you'll be able to contact us in Richmond if there's any questions with the material that we sent out this weekend.
Terrific. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and thanks so much. And we're looking forward to, even after Democracy Day and the General Assembly getting these bills passed, but also like with Alan LaPolice and Bill, after we do that, we need to work with the Republicans, and Republicans. I don't know, Jerry, who is your state representative? Is it Luria or is it Jen Keegan?
It's Higgins now.
Yeah, because what I was talking to John McCrae and others is that we need to focus on getting Republicans, whether it's Ben Klein in the 6th district, which is the Shenandoah area, or Jen Keegan's, and focus on getting their support, Republican support for a constitutional amendment. And Jerry, because I think that the veterans, the veterans entry point is really important because they care about democracy. So we'll work with you on developing a strategy on that. Anyway, Jerry, looking forward to seeing you, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Jacob, we got our plans for you. He's a master in giving testimony to the Senate. So anyway, thanks for joining us, and see you on Tuesday, or better yet, over beers on Monday night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.